Hello, everybody. Hope you all are doing well out there. Today, we're back at it for some more fun with poetry. I decided to keep things brief today. Sometimes it is really advantageous to take your time when you're writing a new piece. Sometimes I write something and then I leave it alone for a while, and then I come back to it and I rewrite some stuff, I write some more new stuff. Sometimes I take a long time coming up with a poem that I particularly am proud of. But today I decided to flip the script, so to speak, and put myself on a time crunch, which can also be a unique motivating factor. So today we are going to focus on 30-second poems. Whoa, yeah. We're going to try to write some poetry in a half a minute or 30 seconds. You don't have to cut it off exactly if you're on a roll on finishing a sentence. But I would like you to try to really force yourself to write something very, very quickly and see what comes out, because it could be very interesting. I find that I enjoy words so much, and I like playing around with a vocabulary that I think it is important sometimes to not be so selective in trying to pick all the perfect best words or the most descriptive words or the fanciest words maybe, and just write what you're thinking about a little more straight, without any without diluting it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So I also did do something interesting for today as well, because I realized sharing a few 30-second poems is not going to take very long. So I also went back to a poem that I first wrote for this class several weeks ago, and I decided to add to that poem. So today I'm going to read you guys a poem that you all are familiar with the beginning of, but I only wrote one stanza, like a paragraph, basically, worth of stuff for the first time I shared it with you guys. And I added 2 more stanzas to this poem, and I think I fleshed it out a bit. And I wanted to give you guys an idea at what adding to stuff that you might think is done might offer your work as well. So anyway, we're going to start with the 30-second poems because they're fun and they're light and they should be a good warm up for us. And it won't take us very long, and I won't get bogged down in trying to explain every moment, because they're a lot simpler. So without further ado, here we go. I'm going to share with you guys. I wrote 3. I like to work in 3s. I like the number 3, and I just find that it's a good way to try to explore something. So whenever I give a new writing style a try, I try to do it at least 3 times before I start worrying about whether I'm going to continue writing that way or not, or the things that I've learned from it. So here we go. Poem number 1. Wrote this one in 30 seconds about what I'm seeing out there in the air, which is bumming me out a little bit. But I'm sure you guys will understand. Here we go. An all too familiar haze adds its weight to the already heavy times. Okay, so that is poem number 1. Obviously, I am talking about the haze that we all see in the air out there, that is kind of reminding me a little bit of those times when we had fires very close to us previously. And it's not a welcome sight. It's a sight that is a little bit concerning, and also just reminds me of a lot of pain that this community has already gone through, and it just doesn't seem fair. So, an all too familiar haze is what I am discussing in that first line, adds its weight to the already heavy times. Here I'm trying to discuss a little bit about the fact that we're already dealing with a pandemic, and I'm sure many of us are feeling the effects of the economic crisis that our country is in right now, and they seem like heavy times, particularly. And I just wanted to kind of tie in the fact that having all this haze and bringing up all those memories is an unwelcome feeling to have in these times. I've been trying to focus a lot myself on keeping myself positive as much as I can, even though I'm certainly struggling, as I'm sure all of you are, with being cooped up and not being able to enjoy the summer in ways that I typically enjoy the summer, and not being able to see people that I want to see more regularly. It's been very, very tough. So that's my poem number one. All right. Poem number two, written in 30 seconds, goes like this. Okay, here we go. Broken? We were supposed to have years left together. Didn't you know I fixed you to enjoy you more than I had? Okay, so there's my attempt. Since my first poem was a pretty heavy poem and a little bit more serious, that is my attempt at being a little bit more lighthearted and trying to add a little bit of comedy, if you will, into my poetry. I will tell you the backstory here is I have a guitar amplifier that is very old. It's from the 1960s. That I very much love, and it has not been working properly for some time. And a few months ago, I had it repaired, and I was very, very excited to have this amp working again in the ways that I knew it could be. And I enjoyed it for a little while, and then I kind of got lost in acoustic guitar land, and I wasn't plugging in to the amplifier. And so I let it sit for a little while. And then just a couple days ago, I got to thinking, hey, I haven't played electric guitar in some time. I should probably do that. And so I went to this amp that I had all fixed up for myself. And as soon as I flipped it on, it started crackling. And then I saw a little tuff of smoke come out of the back of my amplifier. And I was like, no! So broken is how I started this poem. And I started this poem with an exclamation point behind broken, because that is very much how I feel. I kind of wanted to exclaim to the heavens, broken! And then the rest of this poem is really speaking to the amplifier. We were supposed to have years left together. Didn't you know I fixed you to enjoy you more than I had? So this is my lament to my guitar amplifier. And even though it was sad, I also was trying to joke with it. And I hope that comes across for you guys. All right. Poem number 3, third 30-second poem, goes like this. All right. Run down the leads. If you falter, work at it. You don't stroll down the leads. Okay, so This one, I'm having a little bit of fun with a common phrase, and this is something that is fun to mess around with. So we all have phrases that we know that we hear all of the time, and I always think, "Hey, that's interesting, but what if that phrase got used in a different way?" So, running down the leads is a phrase that I think comes from sales. When salesmen, especially in the older times, were more calling people on the phone or actually just knocking on their door and trying to sell them stuff, they would talk about particular areas or groups of people or phone numbers of people that had described like they were interested in this product that they were selling. They would describe them as a lead, okay? And it was important for good salesmen to get good leads, all right, to keep working. So that's kind of a little bit of a history on that use of the phrase. Run down the leads. But then I decided to take it further in advice for myself. Okay, so this poem is very much about talking to myself. And this is something that I find is very advantageous in writing poetry, is that you really can write poems for yourself, talking to yourselves, cheering yourselves up, rooting yourselves on, dealing with stuff that maybe you've been holding on to for too long. And sometimes it really helps to just write it out. So my advice to myself is, if you falter, and falter just means if you stumble on your way to running down those leads, work at it. You don't stroll down the leads. Okay, so there's my little play with the phrase "run down the leads," and I'm trying to remind myself that working at it is the most important thing, because I think a lot of us who are talented like you guys are out there, we try something and we want it to work. We want it to work quickly and sort of easily. And it's easy to get frustrated and sort of give up when something isn't coming as easily as you think it should because of your talents, or your desires, or your just natural inclination. There are all sorts of things that we all have to do every day that we may be sort of good at, and other things we may be less good at. And so this is a way of me trying to remind myself, even though I'm not a salesman and I'm not running down any literal leads, I'm talking about the idea of working towards a goal and then faltering, okay, stumbling along the way, and trying to remind myself, keep to the work. Keep to the work, Zach. That's what I'm trying to remind myself. Because you don't stroll down the leads, you run down the leads. Okay, and so that's where I'm trying to remind myself. All right, so those are our 3 30-second poems. Very much all over the board. And I didn't use any prompts for these because my prompt basically was keep them short and just write a poem in a very short amount of time. And keep in mind, a poem doesn't have to be longer than even one line. 1 or 2 lines could be a very powerful poem. In fact, I just read some poetry earlier this week, where some of the poetry was full pages, and other entries in the catalog of poems were only 2 lines. Okay, so it doesn't have to be a lot of words to be a very powerful poem. All right. So now I am going to take us back. Let's see here. Back to the posing a question day that I gave to you guys a few poetry rounds ago now. And I'm going to read to you guys the poem that I wrote, which was only one stanza. And then I'm going to read to you. I rewrote the first stanza. Actually, I made some adjustments in the first stanza, and then I wrote 2 more stanzas. So I'm going to share that part of the process with you guys in the hopes that maybe you guys have already written a few things that you like, that you wrote of your own, that you would like to go back to and expand upon. Okay. All right. So this first stanza should be a little bit of a refresher, but I will read it anyway. How does one know what they know? Does it land in your head like a mosquito on a lake? Or does it seep up from below like a river about to overflow? Has it been there all along, just waiting on the change of guards? It's all about timing and patience to pull off the perfect escape. Okay, so that's where I started. And then I went back and I actually rewrote some parts of this first stanza, and then I will share with you the next 2 stanzas that I wrote. So this is the Ricka Ricka redo here, remix style, and it goes like this. How does one know what one knows? Does it land lightly in your head like a mosquito on a lake? Or does it seep up from below like a river swollen with the spring melt? Has it been there all along, reading to pass the days, just waiting on the change of guards? It's all about timing and patience to pull off the perfect escape. Or does it finally emerge when you share it with another, like the last slice of cake? You need it to be eaten. You've had your fill. If you don't share, it'll make you sick. When a revelation arrives, late from the airport with foreign baggage, there's never enough money for the cab. You can tax your secret stash. It's upstairs in that old envelope. Alas, you were never going to spend it, were you? Okay, so this piece, I kind of got on a roll, and I started really thinking about this first question that I pose. In the first draft, the question was, how does one know what they know? And then the more I thought about that, I thought, that's a little confusing, Zach. I think you all probably know what I mean by that phrase. How does one know what they know? Speaking about another person and what that other person knows, the they there is really speaking about that other person too. But then I thought it would be a stronger way to phrase it is, how does one know what one knows? So that you're not confused at all about who the one is. It is that other person that we are speaking of who knows something. And then I got a lot more interested in trying to paint the picture of having an idea that you know something. Does it land lightly in your head? That's an addition. Like a mosquito on a lake? Or does it seep up from below like a river swollen with the spring melt? That's a rewrite of an entire phrase. Instead of writing about to overflow, I tried to get a little more poetic, and I tried to get more specific about why would a river be overflowing or about to overflow? Oh, because in the springtime, there's a lot more water that runs through from the melting of snow up on mountains? Has it been there all along, reading to pass the days, just waiting on the change of guards? It's all about timing and patience to pull off the perfect escape. And then there, I'm trying to talk about letting that idea out. Okay, so I'm personifying the idea of knowing something. And personifying just means that you are treating an inanimate object like a computer or a plant or a shelf as if it were alive, and you're talking about it like it has feelings. So in this moment, I'm personifying the idea of knowing something like it's in a prison inside your mind, and it's trying to escape. Okay? And then I take that idea further, and I started thinking about the idea when you think you know something, you start to feel confident to be able to share it with other people. I find when I think I know something, I feel like I can share it. So that's what this whole next phrase is about. Or does it finally emerge when you share it with another, like the last slice of cake? You need it to be eaten. You've had your fill. If you don't share it, it'll make you sick. Okay? I don't know about you guys, but sometimes my sweet tooth gets the better of me, and I eat too much sweet junk food, and I get a really bad tummy ache sometimes. I have a particular weakness for donuts. I love donuts. And sometimes when I go to the donut shop, I know I only need 1 or 2 donuts, really, depending on the size of donut, to get my fix. But sometimes I buy more than 1 or 2 donuts, thinking, oh, I'll have a couple today, maybe I'll have a couple tomorrow, who knows? And it's very easy for me to have more than a couple donuts, and then my tummy hurts. So I am trying to use that analogy for needing to share something that you know. Maybe in that moment, you need to share it just like I need to share my donuts. That's what I've learned. I need to invite people over for donuts, apparently, or bring them to other people. So that's what I'm trying to get at with that whole stanza about the last slice of cake and needing it to be eaten. You've had your fill. If you don't share it, it'll make you sick. And then the final stanza comes about talking about the revelation of when you know that you know something, it is sort of like a revelation. All of a sudden, oh man, I wasn't even aware that I knew that thing as well as I thought I knew it. And now it comes the revelation. But here again, I am personifying the revelation. And I'm treating that moment in our minds like it is an actual person. And I'm talking about it in a scenario that is very familiar to me when I was living in the city. So I've been writing a lot about my experiences recently in the city. That's been coming up a lot in my writing. And that's probably a very good thing, because maybe I haven't been thinking about my life in the city as much and how it has shaped me. So the final stanza is, when a revelation arrives late from the airport with foreign baggage, there's never enough money for the cab. You can tax your secret stash. It's upstairs in that old envelope. Alas, you were never going to spend it, were you? So here is a moment where I feel like when you know that you know something and you feel very confident and you've shared it with a few people, and then you have a moment of perhaps doubt that, oh, I thought I knew what I think I know, and I shared it with a few people, and they seem to think that I know what I know, but now I'm not so sure I know what I know, and you start to doubt the revelation. And it's a very uncomfortable feeling, in the same way that not having enough money for a cab and having to run upstairs to your secret stash in order to pay for that cab can sometimes feel like you're taking something that you were holding on to very preciously in order to pay for something that you're unsure about. So that was my attempt, at least, at trying to personify the doubt that one comes across sometimes when someone has a revelation. So I hope that that was illuminating for some of you, and that some of you might give this a try too, because those 30-second poems today will not take a whole lot of time. Maybe now would be a great time to go back and see what else you can add to in your writing. Okay, you guys? Just because you finished a poem for one of the previous classes doesn't mean that it has to be all the way done. All right. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day. I hope that you're staying safe and healthy. I hope that your loved ones are far away from any of the fires that are around there. I hope you're staying indoors as much as you can in our weather conditions right now, because I know there's a lot of bad smoke outside out there. And I hope I see you all again next week in some much better weather conditions for all of us. I know I'm certainly going to be disappointed not to be able to be hanging out outside for the next couple of days. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all next week.